You lead the invocation.
Let's pray. Lord, Heavenly Father, we just come to this time thanking you again for another year. Lord, you've brought us through a lot of things, Lord, and you've blessed us abundantly. We want to thank you for all those blessings, Lord. We just ask as we conduct this last meeting of the year that we conduct it in a pleasing manner to you, and that we would do only the things that would be in your will. Help us to be good servants. Thank you for the people that are out here, the concerned citizens, Lord, and just go with us and protect us. We ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Commissioners, before we get started, I need to make a little adjustment on our agenda. Item number 8, the official vote on the cancellation of the last meeting, will move to item number 9, and then we're going to add item 8, which is to review some audit proposals, 4 of them exactly, for this year. So if you would make that note, move item 8 to 9, and then number 8 will be audit proposals. Okay, item number 2, unfinished business. Approve the minutes of the November 26th regular Board of Commissioners meeting. Please let me know when you've read and ready to move forward with a motion.
I've read the minutes and I'm ready.
I have no issues.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we approve the November 26th minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Minutes are approved. Public commentary. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand, be recognized, come forward, tell us who you are and where you live in Fannin County. Anyone? Mr. Webb.
I'm Joe Webb. I live in the Dial area in the south part of the county. I want to inform the commission that my garbage dump fee went up 20%. I thought last year's contracting was to protect the citizens from price increases, but a 20% increase basically is fairly severe, and that's what I paid for my minimum load. It went from $10 to $12 a dump for me. Last meeting, Commissioner Johnson talked about citizens serving on authorities and boards for the county and how that is a problem for us finding people. I served on the library board for 6 years. I was asked to serve on the tax assessor board and the water authority board, but both those were basically taken back by the commissioners due to political controversy. In 2011, when the citizens got together to suggest changes to the local legislation, we just suggested that the county ought to post these things in the newspaper as a public announcement and solicit resumes and people wanting to do these jobs. It's kind of interesting. Since 2016, we've had 3,000 new voters registered, and I doubt anyone has met all 3,000 of those, but if anything's true in this community, we are getting amazing people with amazing talent. So I think if we widen our search to the whole community, we would probably come up with qualified people to help us on these boards and authorities. It's kind of interesting, at the theater I do set building, and I now have 3 engineers on staff, volunteers. I have a designer on staff, volunteer with a master's in design. There's all sorts of talent running around this county willing to help. So I suggest we open that up to the public and let people know about these things. And literally ask for business resumes, ask for qualifications, ask for people who want to do these jobs. Now, as to the budget, I would expect that we'd have some information on the number. What is the number? What was the number for the last 3 years in history? What is the next 3-year projection? So hopefully that will be disclosed to us later in the agenda, but not have information out like that before the meeting, again, is a disrespect to the process and to the public. As to the budget, please follow the current law and produce a capital budget and basically produce a chairman's narrative and guidance. We don't know what we're doing most of the time, and I'll just simply make this statement on what are basically the expectations for risk management. Do we really have a good history of it? What is the allocation for splosh parking? We're 2-3 years into this and don't know yet. What is the rec building out of Splash? What is the admin cost in the budget for the move and all this stuff? It's all unknown. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to be next? Anyone? Public commentary is closed. Item number 3 under new business, Mr. Eddie O'Neill. You have some appointments and to discuss with, please. Come on up.
Thank you, sir.
We need to reappoint and make some changes with rec board, administration, advisory board. I would submit the current board members of Brandon Holloway, Mandy Dixon, Chris Hyde, Ryan Sullivan, Klein Bowers, and Gail O'Neill. Mandy Dixon's term limit's up. She's asked to step down from serving. So what I would recommend is we would reappoint Charlene Foster in her place for a 2-year term. Brandon Holloway for 2 years, and Gail O'Neill, her time is not up. She would be another 2-year appointment. She has 2 years left, better said. And appoint Chris Hyde, Ryan Sullivan, and Mr. Bowers for 3-year appointments. If that pleases the board.
I have no issues with any of your appointments. We appreciate what they do. Commissioners, any thoughts on the appointments or the nomination recommendations?
I don't. You mentioned the advisory board. That it's not. We're not discussing that really right now. These are all regular board appointees, right?
These are all appointees. That's correct. All these folks currently serve, and Ms. Dixon is asked to resign,
Okay.
and we replace her with Ms. Foster.
I have no issue, Chairman.
I have none.
Okay, all right. Okay. I will ask for a motion that we approve the rec board appointments that Eddie has recommended for the individuals and for the time that he is asking for. So I'll ask for a motion, we approve that.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Second, all right. We got a motion and we've got a second. All in favor? Okay. All right, sir.
Are we good to discuss? I've got pricing for the gates and security systems at the river parks. I'd like to go ahead and get that approved. It'd be SPOS funded. That amount would be for cameras at both parks and the gate system with the remotes and stuff for Mr. Cook and other employees that would need that. that total would be, I'd like to do it not to exceed 16,000. Right now, the pricing is 15,654, but Horseshoe Bend, the restrooms for cameras are a couple months out. That could change a few $100 if that makes sense to you. I couldn't promise you that the camera systems will be exactly the same cost at this point in time.
So we're talking about cameras at both Hammond
At Tammany and
and
Horseshoe
Horseshoe,
Bend.
and then a security gate at Horseshoe Bend.
That's right, a security gate at Horseshoe Bend, correct.
Yeah, we've talked about that for some time.
Yeah, I
There's a
know.
need for that, and
We've asked for that,
I
yeah,
think that's
that's
a
been
big
discussed.
need.
But I'd like to go ahead and get that stuff ordered so it can be fabricated. It will take a while,
And you're looking again at,
not to exceed 16. The current pricing for everything is 15,654, but I'm not sure it would be, it could be more or less than that in 3 months with the camera system especially.
Commissioners, you got any comments or thoughts on this?
You're looking at not to exceed 16?
Correct.
Okay, do you have bids already?
I do, I have, the gate bids, I had two gate bids, one for 11,326, and the next lowest bidder was 11,486. And Mountain Valley would be the lowest bid on the security gates and stuff. But they can do the cameras also, they currently do the rec center and do all our monitoring already.
And they did the gate at the Tom Boyd
At
Park.
Tom Boyd,
And you've had favorable results since the gates went up, correct?
yeah. Yeah, that's been a huge help for us.
Yeah, I don't see how we can not go ahead with it because of, Horseshoe Bend,
The new
it's kind of
restaurant.
secluded and dark. And I think it needs the same attention as
Agreed.
Tom Boyd Park.
I think that would be a real improvement on security out there, which can be an issue.
Especially with the new restrooms and everything.
Right.
The additions and everything we've done out there.
Where would you, at this point, where would you think the gates would be? Would it be past the bridge on the creek?
What would happen is, as if you're familiar, as you cross the bridge, if you look immediately crossing the bridge, we actually, Tri-State has a power pole right there, which
Right.
is advantageous for us. So there's some electrician work outside of the cost of this to come and pull power, and set the meter for the gate. But it would be right as you cross the bridge, the power is really close right there.
And we would have that lighted very well where somebody. would
Yeah,
come
there's a
in
light
and-
on that pole also, yeah.
And would they be able, would they have to back up, or would they be there, how would, if they pull in there, the gate's down?
You would have to back up.
Back up, okay.
Yeah, you would have to back up.
Is there any spot there that you might could make a turnaround and keep people from backing across that bridge?
We can get Zach to look at that. We definitely want to put a sign before the bridge, what we would do is put a sign, put it on social media, in the papers like we did at Tom Boyd, warning everybody, that at this date, if you get caught in here, you'll have to call 911 for somebody to get you out.
Would cameras be there, just if the car is pulled down, have a camera right there to see?
That's correct.
So if someone decides they want to pull a
Run
stunt
video.
like when you first had that out there, we would have them
Yeah,
on camera?
yeah, the small, those,
Right.
that part, those cameras are pretty expensive.
Sounds like a good move to me. Any other thoughts, commissioners, on this?
I have no problem.
Okay. All right, I'll ask for a motion that we allow Eddie to proceed at $16,000 with Mountain Valley Systems to move forward with cameras and security gate at Horseshoe Bend Park and cameras at Tammany Park.
Correct.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion, we approve that.
Makes a motion.
Okay?
Second.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all right, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Okay. Think you're good, Eddie.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Eddie. Have a good day. Item number 4, we've got an exciting project next door happening. Mr. Kiefer, with Hawthorne Ventures, please come down and tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the commission. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you this evening and tell you a little bit about our project. I know you have included some pictures, but I got a few more. Thank you. We have a project that we're proposing where the United Methodist Church previously sat. We purchased that property approximately 2 years ago and allowed the church to stay there for 18 months while they built their new facility. Once they built their new facility, they relocated a lot of their furnishings, their equipment, their windows, pews, doors. Allowing them to do that was a big help. It helped them build a new facility that's handicap accessible, but also use everything from existing buildings that they could. During that period of time, we have put a lot of effort into designing a project that's inclusive of some retail stores that are designed to be in keeping with the downtown feel of existing Blue Ridge. In addition, a parking deck in the back, most importantly. A parking deck that would include 186 spaces. It would be situated such that it would sit to the rear of the church property, and we would allow 2 levels of parking. One, we could enter from the lower level on the back street, and then go up the hill and enter the upper level from the back street as well, without needing ramps in the parking deck. So it's a very efficient layout, and it will do a lot to help alleviate some of the parking concerns in downtown. And most importantly, it's all paid for with private investment. It's all being paid for with an investor that's very interested in doing a lot of positive things at Blue Ridge. We would appreciate your help. We today have entitled this whole project through the city of Blue Ridge. However, it just so happens we need your help with an easement. You own the Social Security building on the corner, and I come tonight to ask your consideration for an easement to be able to build the retaining wall that we need in the back corner of the project. The back corner, the grade sits up quite a bit higher than the front of the street, and we're having to install a retaining wall as you face the project on the left side and on the back. And the retaining wall is going to need basically a shored wall. We're going to need tendons that support that retaining wall. And the diagram that I've given you shows an area highlighted in pink in the area that we will need your consideration for an easement. So,
And that would not, just to clarify, the retaining wall remains on your
yes,
property.
the retaining wall is 100% on our property. Where we need your consideration is these tendons that they drive in. They start 8 or 10 feet below the wall. They drive in at a 20% downgrade, and they go in and try to hit the bedrock surrounding the retaining wall. It gives the wall more support.
And those supports would not even be visible.
No, they would be, they'd start 8 feet below the grade, and they go down at a 20% angle. They'd be 12 to 15 feet and deeper, some of them as deep as 40 feet. And in the area that we needed the same consideration from the city of Blue Ridge towards the back, they were going to be over 40 feet in depth, these tendons. So in any case, we would be very grateful for your support. It would help us accelerate the project. Our goal would be to start first of the year, and we have a lot of dirt to move, and these retaining walls are a critical part of being able to build the parking structure.
And your engineers would take on all responsibility and make sure there was nothing,
Yes,
none of the underpinnings, anything would be disturbed next door and cause any issues with that.
Absolutely. We have more engineers working on this than you can imagine, but yes, sir, we would.
Okay. And how many parking spaces were you talking about?
186.
186, right there, right next door.
Right next door.
Interesting.
And open to whoever would like to
Yeah.
use it. But,
Yeah.
and that doesn't include the surface street parking. We're going to try to add some additional surface street parking.
And this parking would be available to courthouse employees, anybody that's serving here? So when you're spending all your money, instead of us, something's been talked about in the past, spending a lot of taxpayer money to build a parking deck, we won't need that. You work with us on that.
We'd like to think you won't need it.
Yeah.
So hopefully, this investment will go a long way towards solving your parking problems.
What kind of questions would you have on this? What do you think, Mr. Patterson?
You haven't said anything about the cost, so I'm assuming it's gonna be free to the public. Are you gonna charge to go? You didn't say anything about
I wish
that.
we could provide it free, but for a private investor to put up almost $7 million in this whole project, there will be a cost. We're looking at a $5 cost to park. So,
Are you gonna have to have a credit card, or are you gonna use cash? Or you
it's
gonna-
all gonna be automated, so you can download an app on your phone if you'd like to. You can pay with your phone, you can go up to a kiosk and pay with a credit card. There'll be a number of ways, there'll be no gates. It'll be numbered parking, so you'll walk up, put your number in, and pay at a kiosk, or
No-
pay with your phone.
No cash.
We prefer not to, cash can be problematic, so we like to do everything automated with cards if we can. So,
How many jobs you anticipate that this project's going to generate, Mr. Keefe?
it would be, during the construction, several hundred. When you look at the different phases and all the different subcontractors required for the project. And then, long-term, 30,000 square feet of retail and office. I would think you're looking at 100 or more permanent jobs, long-term.
Mr. Johnson, you have some thoughts?
I'm very glad to hear that, private money's gonna fund it. I expected there would be a fee, somebody has to pay for the concrete and steel.
Yes, sir.
The only questions I would have is, do you have any drawings yet where all the shoring's gonna take place, the depths of the anchors,
Yes, sir, we do.
right from the top? My only concern would be is future development on our property, it being an easement.
The depth would be 12 to 15 feet below the basement level of the existing Social Security building. Would be the closest.
Okay.
They're gonna go deeper, and they would not exceed the 40 feet from our line. Again, it's basically in the area that I've highlighted.
Right.
And, when you get beyond that area, the wall height drops and we don't need the tendons. So it's only that section right there, the tallest part of the wall, that we'll need.
So the closest part that any tenant would be was 12 to 15 feet under the building?
Yes, sir. We have all the finished floor elevations, the elevations of the tendons, that's all been surveyed and engineered.
Okay. So any future development from Fannin County in 10, 20 years down the road, if someone decided to take that grade down a little bit, I mean, how close could they get to these tenants and then still be viable?
The truth is, they could probably get very close to them. The existing foundation is probably 10 feet below finished grade, so you're talking 22 feet below finished grade.
Okay.
Struggle to think what would be required to go 22 feet below the existing finished grade. But, in the future, we could even engineer, a different system to go different directions if we had to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way. If they're deep enough now, I don't see any reason.
Right.
The stranger things have happened.
The same situation occurred during the development of Brave Stadium in Cobb County. They had these situations on all sorts of properties.
Right.
And the Senate attorney that handled a lot of those was helping the city of Blue Ridge and was very familiar with what we needed. And it's not uncommon. You're so deep that it will not affect anything in the future.
Right.
Very well.
I think it's a small courtesy to pay for the amount of parking spots and to get by it, so.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions, commissioners, on this? Mr. Kiefer has asked for a right-of-way easement, and this is something, since it's coming on our property, we really have to vote on that. Any other thoughts about that, Commissioner Johnson? Do you need anything further before we vote on it?
No.
Okay. All right, I make a motion that we approve this right-of-way easement for Hawthorne Ventures, Blue Ridge, I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Made a motion, got a second. All in favor? The easement is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
That's a weird piece of, a weird pamphlet. Yeah.
Hundred and 170 parking places, man, that's gonna be great, just right next door.
186.
186, wow,
That'd be nice. Help out.
it's gonna be exciting. Item number 5, the Fannin County Detention Center Healthcare Contract. Sheriff, you're on if you wanna.
Okay,
You want to feed the folks in the detention center, right? Keep feeding.
this is our health services contract.
Health services.
We do it a year at a time. Do y'all have that in front of you?
I do.
Okay. I labeled in 2019, just to give y'all an idea of what we did, the year that we're in right now, and then what they're proposing in 2020, which is a 3% increase from $115,000 to $118,000. And it's a contract, so I was just here to get approval to either myself sign this contract or the chairman sign it. Continue to do business with Southern Health Partners for another year. And again, they're our medical contractor in the jail. They provide us a nurse, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week on call. So,
I think this has been explained to me pretty well. Sheriff, I don't have any questions. Commissioner Patterson, you have any questions on this, sir?
Sheriff Kirby, I just noticed, last year they had that cap. I'm assuming that's still
I
on,
think
correct?
that's all still in place. They just noted the changes. That was added in 2019.
Yes, sir.
And they didn't put that in their 2020 document, but I would assume that all of that stays the same.
Stayed the same.
Yeah.
Has that been an issue on 2019? Any problem with that? Have had
You know, our only issue comes from stuff outside of what they're able to handle. We end up having to take inmates to the hospital sometimes for different things. And that's just always a battle trying to get those bills reduced down to the Medicare rate, which we're entitled to.
Right.
We get some pretty enormous bills sometimes. And we pay some pretty good bills, but it's just the cost of doing business. But this $118,000, I can't tell you exactly how long that would take to suck that up if we was just doing private medical care through the hospitals and things like that, but
Yeah.
we would never make it 12 months on it.
No.
But it's awful handy having our own nurse in our own jail. They run med call every day. Every inmate that comes into our jail within 48 hours of being brought in, they're seen by a nurse, got an evaluation, a baseline, starting point. Works out pretty good. That's one of the biggest liability areas we have in our jails, are medical.
Have any questions, Commissioner Johnson?
I've never asked this before, but when they're in custody, is any medical expense, does that fall back on them in the future, or is that?
You mean as far as like maybe restitution or something goes?
Well, I mean, as far as, if I get sick in Blue Ridge or Morganton, like if they're in custody and they get sick.
You mean if they're in jail?
Yes. is that?
If they're in jail and they get sick or hurt, then they're our responsibility. We have one or two things we can do. We can either treat them or we can turn them loose.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm always
And we
wondering.
do both.
Treat them then.
Yeah, we weigh out the options, figure out what's best. And yes, people do hurt themselves just so that it's because they know we won't want to pay their medical bills.
I'm glad you asked that question.
We had one break his leg one time intentionally just because he knew we wouldn't want to pay his medical bills.
Really?
And we did. We done it.
Maybe I'll try that trick if you ever get it right. I just wonder, like, if someone caught the flu, like if I catch the flu here, if the county was responsible for me.
Well, here's the thing about it, if we're gonna keep you in jail and you get sick, it don't make no difference if you caught it out there or caught it here.
Right.
You know, we gotta, there's a standard that has to be met with jail medical care, and that's a complicated issue.
Right.
Anyway, we've got to keep you alive while you're here, so, and it's a whole lot cheaper to do it through a medical contract, not in-house type situation than it is to be transporting people back and forth to the hospital and doctor's offices all the time.
Right.
Any further thoughts, questions, Commissioner?
No, Chairman, I'm fine.
I'll ask for a motion that we approve this contract for the upcoming year for Sheriff Kirby with Southern Health Partners. I'll ask for a motion on that.
Make a motion.
Okay. I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Thank
You're
you
good,
guys
sir.
very much, appreciate it.
I'll bet you.
Would you like to sign that, or do you want me to sign it, or how you want to?
I'll sign it.
Okay, I'll just get it from Sherry tomorrow.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
We'll do that.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Sheriff. Item number 6 is a license application to serve beer and wine. This is at a restaurant. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, no, I thought I had to come up. I'm the applicant.
No, yeah,
Oh,
if
okay.
we have some questions, we'll
Okay,
ask you.
all right,
Thank you.
sorry.
Commissioners, you have any thoughts on this, Commissioner Patterson? Anything?
Talked to Ms. Doss, all the paperwork seems to be okay.
Okay.
Any issues with that?
You have any thoughts, concerns, Mr. Johnson?
No, it looks like the paperwork is all in order. They made the proper permit.
The sheriff has signed off on it, and so has the fire chief after doing an inspection. So, without any other thoughts on this, I'll ask for a motion that we approve this alcohol license for the cider house. I'll ask for a motion that we approve that.
Make the motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor? License is approved.
Thank you.
See, it was easier than you thought. You're welcome to stay, you don't have to, I say that's basically what you were interested in, so
Thank you,
if you
Commissioner.
need to leave, you're not being rude, no. Thank you for coming. Have a
Thank
good
you.
Christmas.
You have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7 is the 2020 Fannin County financial budget. And a lot of folks, commissioners, all of us have spent a lot of time going over this, and I greatly appreciate that. It's a lot of money, 43 different expenditures. This budget, the total, grand total for the budget, and I'll say it slowly for you, is $28,586,000. $564,665. And that is an increase from the 2019 budget, which was $27,710,456. That's an increase in total spending of $854,000, or a total increase percentage-wise of 3% over the previous year. And we will be going into the general fund if the budget is approved as it is for $678,616. And the proposed budget had us going into the general fund $1,174,972. And after reviewing and all the commissioner input, we've been able to cut about $500,000 out of those requests. So the budget proposal that's on the table that we have here is a grand total $28,564,665. And I think we've gone through most of the big items that were changed. Commissioners, I'll leave it up to you to questions, any other thoughts, comments you want to make on this? Commissioner Patterson, do you have any?
Well, Chairman, the last time we visited this, I think it's one of the most important things, of course, we do all year long. And I hope that we'd took a second look at it, have time to look at things that we maybe felt uncomfortable with. And I asked that possibly we get some paperwork that might help us. We've gotten that from CFO. I've also had a meeting with her, talking to her about it. And I feel good about it. So I hope we can do well today. I know both of you guys are civil servants and want to do the right thing. I don't see any issues at this time about it. I appreciate everybody due diligence, as I do, and would hope that we can come to a conclusion tonight.
Tomorrow I'm gonna let it reset, turn it back on.
Okay. That was coming from your microphone or what?
No, it was doing that earlier.
I'm dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Back on.
It's always worth turning something off.
Yes.
Let's turn it off.
Back up. Okay. All right. Commissioner Johnson, what say you, sir?
I've received the numbers for the estimated fund balance. Half a tree's worth of paper, and I'm fine with the budget as presented. The only things that still concerns me about as far as reporting our revenues, you say land development, the 911, because those are all still revenue generators. It would be nice to, just from here moving forward, have those numbers in our reports as well. Like land development, a good way of gauging building in Fannin County is what their revenues are, year to year. Sometimes she reports how many permits we receive, but as far as that dollar amount, it's still, I think, a number that, we don't know it exactly. As far as the budget itself, standalone, I have no issues with the budget. But reporting our revenues so that we can all keep up with the revenues in the departments. This to me is critical, because I can do my simple math and know where I'm at with it. And if each one of us wants to do that, we'll have those two figures and we can say, okay, well, last year, 2019, this was the revenues in land development. And then next year in 2020, we can look at it and say, well, you know, it's either growing or shrinking. I just think it's a very good gauge for us to know where we're going when we have revenues along with the expenditures. So, because I think like 911 or ambulance service brings in, when I talked to Robert last week, was $1.2 million, $1.3 million, something like that. Well, their budget is actually, you know, 2.2. So in my mind, my thinking, they really spend about $1 million, you know, thereabouts. So it lets me say, you know, not be so hard on them maybe when, you know, I look at it and say they're spending $2 million a year by themselves. Realistically, real money, when you take the revenues away, they're really only spending about $1 million. And that's just how I calculate everything, pluses and minus. And by no means, it doesn't have to be dead on exact. Just something we can gauge to know where we're going in the future.
Well, I'd like to say something. I'm greatly appreciative of Commissioner Patterson and you, Commissioner Johnson, for people can look at that and say, well, if we're disagreeing, if we're arguing, this is important stuff. And everybody's input is important. And I appreciate that because, you know, it's $28 million and you got three people we're trying to make a decision that's best for the county, and we all have the same goal, and that's try to get the best out of services for the fewest amount of dollars to the taxpayer. So any different perspective that each one of us bring to it always, to me, makes it better. Because anything we're doing, if we're looking at numbers, and you've got perspective, and Commissioner Patterson does, and I do, you know, it makes it better. And I'm just appreciative of both of you commissioners for your input and work on this. It's not an easy thing to do all that, and I'm appreciative of it. And I think what we've done here, if you look at a total increase from the previous year of 3%, you know, everything is going up a little bit, and you know, I'd hate to be in a position where we have to go and start drastically cutting budgets like some of our surrounding counties have done in the past. So, with me saying all that, I'm glad we've gone through this. It's an important process, and I get asked all the time when I'm out about budgets and what we're looking at. So everybody's watching it, and I'm greatly appreciative of the input that everybody has on this. I think it's helped us. Hopefully, every year we do this and we can scrutinize things, and we'll find ways to continue to improve and save money. But with that, I'm ready to accept the motion.
Let me just say one thing.
Sure.
We're appreciating everybody. You know, Ms. Galloway doesn't have an easy job. She's a numbers person, and a lot of times it's difficult to describe something or to explain something when you know it yourself. And she's been over backwards to help me understand, and I went through a little learning curve. Took, I think, one general accounting class in college, but it's a big step for people, all of us, to understand these things. But as Mr. Johnson was alluding to earlier about the ambulance service, you know, when you talk about that, you've got a lot of people, you've got Medicare involved, and you've got people that don't pay, so it's really hard to estimate all these things, just to even get an estimate. And so she gets a little help from the auditors, because sometimes Medicare will pay better some years than others, but it's a very difficult position that she has. And you know, I appreciate her bending over backwards to explain things to me in a fashion that I can fathom it and feel, you know, good about it. So I just wanted to say that before we voted, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion at this time that we approve the 2020 budget, grand total revenues, total $28,564,665. I'm going to ask for a motion that we approve that.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Budget is approved. Thank you, gentlemen, I appreciate it.
On this, general fund balance, can we get that monthly
I don't see.
estimated general fund balance?
Sure, we certainly can. Sherry, would you put that in the minutes, please? We can do that. Certainly can. Okay. Item number 8 is to discuss, we gotta have auditors to do the audit for this year, 2019. And in your packet, I hope you have 4 audit proposals there. First one is from Rushton and Associates, who, these folks have done the audit the last 3 years for us. And their audit numbers is not to exceed $57,900. The second proposal we have is from Bates, Carter and Company. And they seem to have quite a bit of county experience. These folks are out of Gainesville. They have done, if I'm looking at the right one here, a number of counties around us, so doing county audits is nothing new. And their proposal is for $55,000. Third proposal we have is from a company out of Kennesaw. This is Nichols, Cawley and Associates, LLC. Their proposal is for $49,500. They have on there their recommendations, references, and their previous experience in doing audits. And the last audit proposal we have is from R.L. Jennings and Associates. I believe they did some audits, Mr. Johnson, in your first term. And their proposed fee is for $45,000 to do the audit ending December 2019. So I'll just open this up when you're ready to have any discussion on these.
Mr. Chairman, I think we've, and I've just been here, this is my first year, but we've used Ruston for what, 3 years?
Yes, sir.
I think, you know, usually with commissioners, you go to commission school, I think they usually say 3 to 5 years, you need to possibly look strong at changing up auditors, and I would like to consider that, since we've used them for 3 years, that we could switch over and make sure everything goes well financially.
So your recommendation is to take Ruston out of the mix and look at the other 3?
I think so.
Okay.
You have a concern with that, Mr. Johnson? Are you okay with that?
No, I would rather not use Rushton.
Okay.
So we'll take Ruston out of the mix.
They're the highest anyway.
Okay. Then we have the other 3 for consideration. We've never had the Nichols Cawley or the Bates Carter Company before, and certainly having a new auditing firm that hasn't done this before is certainly a consideration on my part. How do you feel about that, Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I think it would be better to not.
You use Jennings? Jennings
I mean,
out?
there were just several issues then, just a little history in the back of my head, but anyway, so. They are the cheapest by $4,500. I don't think it would be a bad idea to bring in someone reputable, but has never had a relationship here.
Okay.
Just for clarity for everyone.
Right, I agree.
I have no issue with that, Commissioner.
Well, then that would mean that the lowest auditor would be Nichols Colley Associates, 49.5.
But
Correct?
I would, yes, but I would add something to that is,
Okay.
I think an auditing firm that's had the experience with other counties, and you can see on the Bates and Carter on page 11, they list their engagements with other counties around us, and over that they've got some pretty good experience in that. So I think in most cases, we try to, if everything's all equal, look at the lowest price, but I think when you're looking at an audit, sometimes, you know, cheaper may not necessarily be better. Just my thoughts on it, but, how do you feel on that, Mr. Johnson?
The only differences I see here, just to point out, maybe hitting on the same thing you're talking about, is the service history with Nichols and Colley is substantial amount smaller than the Bates.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they're, cities and a few counties, and a couple of just boards, like the boards of health.
Mhm.
And looking at all the references on Bates Carter and Company, they have, it looks like a substantial amount more experience.
It's pretty clear that. What page are you looking at on this, sir?
This is, it's got 19 on the bottom, under Bates. You see the page I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've got 19.
Yeah, you're talking about 13 counties, 13 cities, and 24 other governments, and 5 state entities. That's, looks like they've been playing in the big leagues with their audits.
Do we know if our comparable last year amount, if Rushton was at 57.9 this year, was that comparable with last
It
year?
was the same.
So,
Last year and this year, they didn't go up, they didn't change it.
okay. So 57.9 in Bates was what number?
55.
55. Yeah. I would agree. I think the experience level, then maybe just a few $1,000s more, but I think it behooves us to go with someone who's had this level of experience to do it. So,
It's a few thousand more, but it's still, what, 2,000 cheaper than last year?
Mhm.
Right.
Or 2,500?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
2,900.
What say you, Mr. Patterson? What's your thoughts on the Bates Carter and Company?
I can live with that. I'm good with it.
Okay. Got any other comments on this one, Commissioner? Okay. All right.
I think it's a good move for us to move forward with someone we've not had a relationship with in the past 8 to 10 years.
Okay. All right, I agree, and having said that, I'm gonna ask for a motion that we approve Bates Carter and Company out of Gainesville, Georgia, to do our 2019 audit, and the price, all inclusive, $55,000. I'm gonna ask for a motion that we approve that.
Make a motion.
Okay? Ask for a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Audit is approved. All right. Item number 9 is a toughie. Since the fourth Tuesday of this month is on Christmas Eve, Don't think I'd have much interest in being here. How about you, Mr. Johnson?
I look forward to it.
You look forward to it. You have your Christmas here in the courthouse.
Scrooge Johnson.
If there's some important business comes up, we can always call a special call meeting, but it's been traditional that the county cancels the second meeting of the year, which obviously is on Christmas Eve. So I'm going to make a motion that we cancel the second meeting of this year, which would be on Christmas Eve, December 24th. I'm going to make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Okay. That's good. Do we need executive session?
I do not, Chairman.
All right. Hearing no need, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
I'll second that. All in favor? Folks, thanks for coming and hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you very much.